Right, guys, I've just watched this video. I'm going to comment on it now. So brace yourself. Um, and it was called Liverpool's Tragic Decline by um, this bloke. It's called the New Culture Forum, and it's this lad. I think he's from Liverpool, but and he's got the 1950s suit on with the double-breasted number from a charity shop, probably. So he said it. Liverpool's tragic decline. He blames it all on immigration, mass immigration. Liverpool, tragic decline. Now, I've lived most parts of my life have been to and fro, and I was born and bred in Liverpool, South Liverpool area, and then I lived in Wavertree, another area, and I spent my last year just north of Liverpool, actually, not technically in Liverpool, so north end, south end, and middle, and I can safely say that immigration. I mean, there's one area where it first came, the immigration, a few years back, Kensington, and I said, it's probably the only place on earth which the Taliban improved. It was an absolute Kensington, Liverpool, absolute shithole, as most of Liverpool is. I don't know where this guy's been brought up or being hemmed in or whatever. But I've been over the whole place, and mostly I would say 60% of Liverpool's almost no-go areas, shithole, full of scum, absolute scum. And actually, I'm not joking about Kensington. The Taliban actually it's an improvement from what was there, and that would be the case in a lot of areas. I can just reel them off one by one. Let's start in the south of Liverpool. Speke, Halewood, virtually no go areas. You wouldn't go near them. You wouldn't. And then I was from kind of Garston, but they've got the under the bridge, we called it, the Mudmen, and you wouldn't go down there. Well, I had a few friends down there, and then you make your way north. You can make your way north round the loop line, Netherley, Old Swan. Then you're getting up to Norris Green. I mean, you'd be lucky to get out of those places alive. Cantrell Farm, Heighton. They had to change the name of Cantrell Farm. What was it called? Something else. They actually had to change the name because it was so notorious. And I've been to these places and they're sinister, scary. There's a few places in Manchester that's kind of the same, but let's stick with Liverpool. So that's round the loop line, and then you get to Netherton, and I'm not sure whether Netherton's still in the boundaries, and then Bootle, which Bootle's outside. I think it's still got a Liverpool postcode, but they're kind of in it outside Merseyside. They're into another, but for all intents and purposes, they're all one big shithole. Absolutely. I mean, scary places. And there's certain places there I wouldn't even work. Kirby, we were doing this project in Kirby, and they're proper I think that's technically outside of Liverpool, but it's all the Liverpool people who moved out during when they knocked down all the terrace streets and they all went to these new towns like Skelmersdale. I lived there That's another scary place that, you know. Anyway, talk about, I mean, this bloke, I mean, but I don't know which Liverpool he was harping back about. So you go the other way, so from where I am, like Garston, then you go into the Dingle, then you're in like Toxteth, and then Wavertree, Tunnel Road area. I mean, that's like... I mean, Toxteth to me is not as bad as other places. Then you're going up north, then like Anfield, Everton, Scotland Road, and people say how warm the people are in Scotland Road. You wanna go and spend an evening there and like open your mouth, see what happens, and then you're going up then, and then you reach again Seaforth, Bootle, and that's most of Liverpool, what I've just mentioned, and all of it is like virtually a no-go area. So I don't know what this guy's talking about, Liverpool. It's only probably the one place on earth which mass immigration would improve, because it was, from when I was a child, it was like, and we used to go to these places now and again. I went to judo in Everton Valley, and you had to run to the bus stop from the club. It was like you ran. When we were kids, we used to run everywhere, and there was a good reason for that, because people can't like latch onto you, and like if you run fast enough, and like the same. In Kensington, we used to go to the ice rink, and you used to get out of the ice rink and bolt down the road towards Old Swan, get the next bus that you could catch, and you invariably there'd be gangs after you. You know, this is Liverpool. It was like there was nothing good about growing up there, nothing, except that like, and I found myself. Yesterday, I don't walk very often, and it kind of just crossed my mind. I was here in Bulgaria, and I was walking to this garage to pick up the car, and I kept looking behind me, and I was thinking, why are you looking behind? It's just like that's how you walk in Liverpool. You keep looking over your shoulder, and if there's anyone coming up behind you, when you were kids anyway, you just run. Doesn't matter what was going to happen, and that's what it was like when we were kids. You'd never go into different areas, never. And even around our area, which wasn't too bad, and then Wavertree, if you go into certain parts of Wavertree heading towards Tunnel Road, and that's always been rough. And then turn right and you're in Kensington, which was like, you wouldn't even send your dog in there. I mean, these places were rough with a capital R, most of Liverpool. So I don't know what this guy's on about. Liverpool's tragic decline, and he was saying, we got all this stuff there, cultural stuff. That was very few people. And there are certain areas which are little pockets here and there, like Woolton. Not many. Certain parts of, like, when you go north Liverpool, which is outside Liverpool anyway, Crosby and places like that. And they call them posh, those places. But they were outside Liverpool, Crosby and Waterloo. And then you had just little pockets of decency, which, there are places in Wavertree which are decent. Going up to Old Swan, and there's a little pocket there. West Derby, some parts of West Derby aren't too bad. And little pockets here and there, and they were there. And then South Liverpool, you got quite a big area. Woolton. And that's where all the money is. Woolton and around Coldstones area, which is a beautiful park, by the way, and round there, and and even running right through into Netherley. And once you get to Netherley, you're asking, just don't go there. You just Bell, what was it called? Bell Vale. Bell Vale, sounds good. Bell Vale, bloody hell. So Liverpool, to me, and I'm from Liverpool, and it's probably, and I've been all over Europe, all over, virtually. I haven't been to Scandinavia, but I don't think that's as bad as. You wouldn't want to start bringing that into the equation. And let's say, what's the roughest places I've been? Not many, really. I've heard Marseille is quite rough, but I've never been there. But like, parts of Andalusia can be quite like a little bit rough, but nothing like Liverpool. I would say Liverpool in the 70s and early 80s, maybe the 60s, was probably the roughest place in Europe. You see on the television, and I've never been to America, like places like Detroit and Baltimore, and I would put it on par with there, without the guns. But maybe now, they've got guns, they've got the law. But like, I don't know which planet this guy was from. But like, I don't know, and I would almost say to him, where were you brought up, mate, and where have you been in Liverpool to get this wax lyrical description of the place? Because to me it was always rough, always a shithole, and you go into town to the clubs and that. And I always used to leave town at midnight, because after that, like, you get to 2 o'clock, which I've done on occasion. On like one occasion, my mate was like mouthing off to these guys, and I said, "Don't, keep your mouth shut." And he had a death wish. Anyway, we ended up in A&E. And funnily enough, they let me into the ambulance, and they never normally do that. And I said, look, and I must have been like sort of semi-like lucid. And he said, jump in. I said, look, these guys are, I'll need another ambulance if you don't let me in. and they let me go in the ambulance. They don't usually do that. They usually don't let you in. And we ended up in the Royal A&E. It was like the battlefield. And this is on just a normal weekend. Nothing special going on in the city, and everyone's like there. And sometimes there was obviously 2 people who'd been in fights and both ended up there. And they were carrying on in the hospital. And it was a right carry on anyway. And this is just a normal night. And it was like I was expecting to see Florence Nightingale any second with the lamp, Lady of the Lamp, walking up and down the wards of wounded soldiers. And it was always violent in Liverpool, and it was always criminal when I was a kid. Always criminal. You wouldn't leave your bicycle outside a shop. You had to keep everything like inside your jacket. You couldn't walk around with like a handbag or anything like that. Yeah, like one of these bum bags or whatever. I carry like a bag around here. You couldn't do that. You couldn't do it. You had to be ready any second to be on your toes, like. And it was so violent and lawless, and then we did have like Toxteth, but that was like that wasn't a really It was bad, but it wasn't really the worst areas. And he's talking now about these immigrants. I mean, these immigrants, they couldn't go to half of these places where I've just mentioned. They couldn't go there. They couldn't go. They could, even now. I would doubt they'd even be, the authorities wouldn't even put them there. They wouldn't. Because they're so dangerous, these places. They wouldn't last 2 seconds. They'd be torn apart. Like Kirby. Try and put immigrants in Kirby. See what happens. Unless you lock them up. I think there was one place there. But it was like cordoned off. I'm not sure quite where it was. Anyway. But and this guy's waxing lyrical about the decline of Liverpool. It's probably the fucking worst city in Europe. And he's on about all this, they've got cathedrals and 3 universities and all the rest of it. It's only because the colleges call themselves universities. Some of them are just like colleges, they were colleges, and they call themselves universities. And that kind of stuff. Actually, the university doesn't do too bad, because there was a big Chinese community in Liverpool, and they get a lot of Chinese through this connection. They get a lot of Chinese students, and they're loaded. They're absolutely loaded. I went to I was working there a few years back, and it was quite a good job actually, because you were locked in. There's quite a bit of security around the university and that, so you're quite safe in there. And I used to go to these. There was a few Chinese restaurants and cafes for the students just outside the campus, and I went to a few of them, and I was like, it's more expensive here than it is in Chinatown. This is for students, and the prices were unbelievable. Anyway, but they're loaded. These people, Chinese, they're students who were sent across, are loaded. There's a lot of people with a lot of money in China. But anyway, so that's my take on it. This guy, I'd like to know, and I'd like to ask him where he's from, and where he was brought up, what school he went to, and where all this Utopia came from. Liverpool is full of far left militants. The most militant place you'd ever go, there's there in Glasgow, and that destroyed the place in the 70s. Absolutely destroyed it. Ted the Red, he was in Birmingham, but they had people, and I've had experience of these people. Horrible people, horrible. These shop stewards and all that. I've had people threatening me to because I was an engineer, and this guy one day thought I was a bricklayer or something, because I was doing stuff with a trowel, and he said, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I just straight away I just said, "Who are you?" And I was quite abrupt with him. And then he said, he came out to the site office, he says, you'll be gone from here. You'll be gone in a jiffy. And this was that was my experience of so-called saviours of working people, of the unions. That's what he said to me. You're gone. And then he came back every week, and I was still there. And I used to shout across to him, I'm still here. You said I'd be gone. Why am I still here? And he said, because you're an engineer and you have a different union. Because that's what the site manager told him. But, Anyway, horrible place, Liverpool. There's nothing great about Liverpool. Nothing. I'll tell you that right now. And although I learnt a lot, and I learnt a lot about how to be streetwise and all that, it's nothing great about Liverpool. They have a few good parks actually, and but that's about it. I mean, you can go anywhere and get nice parks. Got nice parks in Bulgaria. The whole place is a park. But and they think there's rough areas here. They want to go there. Spend a couple of weeks in Speke or Kirby, Halewood, you name it, Netherley. Just go there. A couple of weeks. See what you think. Cheers.